Almost 80 years ago now, someone once said, "We are dealing with the greatest social problems ever known. Millions unemployed must get their jobs back. And getting those jobs back must not be left to private initiative. It is the government that must tackle this initiative and solve the problem." Two things happened to solve the problem. Roosevelt's New Deal, which Tony Blair had a little go at in 97 for a while. Roosevelt's worked a little bit better than Tony Blair's New Deal there. And then the Second World War happened, and lots of people got employment out of that, and lots of people suffered the agony of war. And then came America's industrial military complex. Now, it isn't the international flaw of socialism that we worry about in the 21st century. Well, worry, wonder how it can be stopped in the 21st century, this industrial military complex, where something in the region of 250,000 US troops are stationed in almost, well, just over 100 nations. I don't know the exact figure, I know it's over 100 nations in the world. 250,000 troops, 250,000 troops in all different countries, standing armies in those countries. The United States, before it became the United States, went to war against the British because the British had standing armies in the United States, well, in the colonies, that were doing nasty things to people. These standing armies, and the standing armies that are in the nations at the moment, in different nations, the United States of America's armies that are in these nations at the moment, are doing harm to the people of those nations. But the nations dare not kick them out. Why? The why is job creation. For over 60 years, since the end of the Second World War, I can't imagine the amount of money that's sort of passed through the USA's industrial military complex. It must be phenomenal, and of course all of those jobs have fed loads and loads of families and kept them well off the breadline. They've lived in luxury, really, compared to compared to all of the nations of the world. The majority of USA citizens live in luxury, with perhaps now approaching, 14 million that are actually on the breadline, literally, on food stamps. Where was I? The industrial complex, the military industrial complex, needs to be ended. And it needs to be ended also in Russia as well, because Russia's expanding their industry as far as weapons is concerned. Now, it's not a nuclear escalation, but it's a, what's the word? A conventional weapons escalation. And then you've got the missile thing that the Americans wanted to stick in into Europe, that the Russians are moaning about, and Obama let slip that, just let it lie until after the elections and everything will be okay. I'll get it sorted. President Medvedev, it'll be okay, don't panic. They're all in it together. And perhaps even the Chinese are in it with them. The Chinese elite. This is the agony of it all. They're not about to create jobs. What they're about to do is create another war. A war that is going to literally, potentially, bring in Russia and China on the side of Iran. And both Russia and China have nuclear weapons that can get to the States and to the UK. I don't know how many people have ever realised that, but I suppose lots of people have, really. They must have. So, do we carry on expanding this military complex so that we can have a World War III? I don't know. Oh, pain. It's one of the things that everybody has got to come to realise and say, we've just had enough. We can do other things than make weapons of war. Pardon me. And that's where we get back to employment and the way every government at the moment looks at employment and says, well, we need growth. If we get growth, we'll get the employment. We need growth in everything, so that we need growth in floating ducks for MPs, ponds. Oh, that was something else. The whole of the global system needs to be managed properly. All of the resources that exist need to be managed properly. All of the efficiencies that can be put in place to prevent waste, and not just waste products or waste from products, but products that are a waste of time, that shouldn't be products at all, that are unnecessary. We need, as a species, to look at the things that we need, not the things that we want. That was the old way. That was the way of capitalism and democracy, or the old democracy. If we look and use the same word, democracy, with the idea that everybody is voicing their individual opinion, the agony is that opinion has to be based on a common knowledge, and that common knowledge needs to be global. Oh, golly. But the whole thing is, growth will not work because there's just not enough resources to actually provide the growth that you need to create the employment that everybody is supposed to need or want. But we don't need employment. What we actually need is human development. And the old term that I've coined for years is sustainable human environmental development. And growth is done away with because the only concept that we're worrying about is developing humanity and developing the environment. And if you're doing both, then you'll eventually reach the balance with nature that humanity needs to reverse the effects of global warming if those effects are real. Well, we can see that there's something very strange going on with the climate. So if we're going to have these disasters, we need the resources in place to actually supply for the needs of those people that have suffered the disasters. And I can go to Haiti and see that they're still living in tents, and there should be new cities that should have been built for those people by now, not tents still. The people that are controlling this planet are the criminals, and they need to be tagged.